Honk. Yay! The new intro video. What's going on, Arvanauts? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to our 2019 Game of the Year show, and it is Chrono Wolf who does that music. I may actually play it one more time for everybody since it is brand new. So I have intro videos for everything. I've got intro videos for all of my RPGs. I've got intro videos for everything basically that's tabletop related, but I don't have an intro video for sort of general shows, video games, stuff like that. And so I wanted to play it one more time. I wanted to play it to kind of give you guys a sense of what it is. So my thanks to Kilobyte, who put that together, did a great job with the video as he usually does. My thanks also to Echo Alpha X5 for getting him clips and sort of pointing him to places where there was material of mine that could be used. And my thanks to Chrono Wolf for the amazing music that you heard there. Again, I'm a big fan of that. I had been looking forward to doing that, so it was good stuff. And yes, of course, it starts with me hitting the dab. I'm gonna play one more time. Actually, I'm gonna play it one more time because I had so much fun with watching that. All right, so here we go. It's also short, so here we go. Wait for it. Honk. It's the honk that makes it, I think. But anyway, I'm really pleased with that. So honk, so good. So I'm very pleased with it. So thank you to everybody. Really enjoyed that. And yeah, so that is a general intro video that we'll be using for stuff that is not tabletop and all those things. So thank you again to everybody who contributed. And thank you all for being here. I wanted to debut that. I was going to debut at the beginning of next year, but I was like, you know what? Good time. This is a show about looking forward and looking back and looking forward, and so I figured it was a good time to do that. So it's going to be good times, and it is a pleasure to be here with everybody at the end of 2019. The player D&D game was great, Lone Wolf. It actually went really well. We had a great time. We were joined by Stalwart, a new person who's been on Scraticus's channel doing some DMing, has DM'd on Encounter Roleplay before, and got a chance to hang out and play with us. He was a lot of fun. Of course, Echo Alpha X5 was fun as usual, and also fun was Wenchkin. So we had 3 players, and I think the adventure was a good time. And you know, Echo had to sacrifice his character, but otherwise it was a good time. So yeah, it was definitely went well, and it was a good sort of setup for what we've got set up for this evening. And I want to sort of explain. He was the diplomatic trend in person. It's true. Yeah, I saw that actually, Coven Guy, Kilgore talking about that, which is very cool. So I will have to take a look at that. But yeah, it was good times. It was definitely good times, and I'm glad that some folks were here. Some folks were here to see it, and I'm looking forward to this evening as well. Before I talk about what we're doing tonight, let me just remind people about ways to support the stream. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. We are 1 follower shy of 5,900 followers, so we are only 1 follower away. So please follow the channel if you haven't done so already. I have my new notifications mostly set up. I noticed there's 1 or 2 of them that I have to still troubleshoot and tweak because I moved everything basically from Muxy, where I had it. I think Muxy is now closed, over to Streamlabs. So most of the alerts seem to be working properly, but there was a cheer that Flaos did yesterday that didn't quite click the way it was supposed to. So anyway, a couple little tweaks I have to make, but for the most part, we're in good shape there. So please follow the channel. Please check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, where we continue to gain subscribers, which is great. I notice the more subscribers that I get, the more that I'm getting people that are coming to the Twitch channel through the YouTube channel, which is great. So definitely do that, because that'd be great. You're subscribed but not following, really? No, it did. His cheer did go through. He ended up going back Echo and then doing it again from his desktop. So it did go through. But the alert that came up was the old was like the kind of default alert, not the one that I have set up for it. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. That's it. That's not the right cheer. That's not the right cheer sound. The cheer sound should be, but thank you for the cheer. The cheer sound should be. Let me go do this quickly. The cheer sound should. Yeah, I'm on this one. Thank you. Okay, so no, I don't. Please go away. All advertisements. Okay, so the cheer sign should be this. That should be the cheer sign. So I don't know. That should be the cheer sign. And I should have everything sort of set up for that. And so what I think I'm going to do is, I like the way that Streamlabs does this for the most part, but this is it's a little weird with how it handles the alert box. So I'm going to try one more thing here. All right, so let me try that again. So that's the test. Oh, Jesus. Muxy is back up. Thanks for everyone's patience. Well, you know what? I mean, too bad for them. I mean, thank you for letting me know, but too bad for them. I can't. It's nothing I can do about it now. I mean, they should have. Thank you. Thank you. This should be the opening line. Sometimes you wanna know a place where everybody knows your name. Oh, very cool, Illness. That's awesome. I had not heard that. Yeah, I mean, listen, I actually think as long as I can get this little cheer problem worked out, I actually like Streamlabs' alert setup better. And frankly, this is on Muxy. I mean, like, Muxy should not have gone dark. The last time that they had posted on their Twitter was in September. So if they just finally, in fact, I will confirm that right now because it sort of shocked me. So Muxy Twitter. And I used them for a long time. Let me see. Come on. Yeah, the last time. So they tweeted on September 27th. The next time they tweeted was December 27th. I mean, what? So no. I don't understand the deal with that. And like, so I'm using Streamlabs, and it's too bad for Muxy. They messed it up. So we will, maybe at some point if Streamlabs gets screwed up, I'll have to go back to Muxy, but I'm hoping not. I'm not going to like delete my Muxy account or anything, but I'm going to use it this way. Anyway, to go back to what I was doing, so we've got tweaks going on. So please, I noticed that people are finding us through YouTube, which is great. So let's please continue to go over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. My Discord is !ArvCord. We have a lot of people that are joining up with that. Exactly, it was time for their quarterly communications. Exactly. !ArvCord to hang out with the Arvanauts there. !Arv tweets for my Twitter. Please retweet this stream. I have tweeted. The tweet hath been sent. So please send out a tweet. Please retweet this stream and let people know about this. That would be much appreciated. Again, kind of broadens things out beyond just the lovely Twitch community. And then all of that can be found on my website, arvaneleron.com. Thank you, Echo. And then on the financial side, we have the shop, !Arv shop, which is the merchandise area where you can do a bunch of merchandise stuff relating to shirts and hats and all that kind of stuff for Infinity and Beyond, which is currently playing Curse of Strahd, for Adventures of Middle-earth, which is currently doing an amazing amount of different cool stuff with that campaign. And last but certainly, and with Terry Toon's illustrations, of course. And last but certainly not least, Esper Genesis stuff is going to be coming soon, pretty soon in the new year. So that is another thing that's going to be added to the shop. So you can get merchandise that supports the channel. Also, what supports the channel is subbing and Patreon support. So the Patreon, !Arvtreon, currently sitting at 313, really is the financial backbone of the channel. So cool stuff for you, cool stuff for the channel. Please support me over there if you can. And last but certainly not least, of course, that sub button, which is currently sitting at 105 subs, thanks to the generosity of people like Coven Guy, Gamer Main, and all the other folks who have jumped on board and gifted subs and have subbed themselves. Again, that's never a requirement, but always appreciated appreciated, and 105 subs is well over the goal I had set for myself. I wanted us to reach 80 subs by the end of the year, and we obviously surpassed that, so I'm really excited about that. I'm really grateful to everyone who contributed everything that they did, and that's super awesome, so please jump on board with that. Also, last thing is to mention Icarus and Gray Shade, exclamation point Icarus, is my Icarus Gelinek graphic novel sequence, which is coming out soon. Thank you very much, Esterma. Which is coming out in the end of April, early May, and exclamation point Gray Shade KS will link you just to my announcement of a Gray Shade Kickstarter, which is going to be happening in March. There will be many more details about that coming in the new year. Probably mid-January is when I'm going to be making my next set of announcements about how that all goes. So fear not, because more information about that is going to be on the way. So it's going to be a big 2020, and I will actually talk a little bit about that today as we go through. So that's what we've got going on. Now, as far as today is concerned, schedule is concerned, we are going to be playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a little later, but we're going to start with my Game of the Year show, and accordingly, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of... Where am I here? And I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to turn on that. Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. I hope everybody is doing well. Hey, what's up, Kilobyte? Kilobyte, I played your intro video, sir. I played the intro video, and it was great, and everybody liked it, and they were impressed, and all that. So again, thank you, Kilobyte, for an amazing video with amazing music from Chrono Wolf and with the assist from Echo Alpha X5. It came out really well, and thank you, man. So I think people could tell you themselves that they approved of your general video. It was great, and thanks, dude. I like it so much, I may even commission later in the year a longer version of it. I may even do that later in the year, but we'll see. So, yeah, I mean, I could do that. Honestly, as Terma, I could do that. I have scenes already, and I could transition it. It's not laziness. It's mostly just the fact that I have so many different kinds of streams that setting up different scene transitions for all of them is kind of a pain, and I have everything set up the way that I like it. So at some point I will do that. We'll see at some point. So. But anyway, so we are going to be we have my Game of the Year show today, and I want to sort of explain a little bit. First of all, we will be doing a couple of giveaways towards the end of the stream tonight. We're going to give away some games, which is going to be cool. I'm going to give away also a book, so I'm going to be doing that as well. I'm going to be talking as well about my Games of the Year, and about sort of the talk about that. But before I get to that, I hope people indulge me, because I'm also going to talk a little bit about the decade past and the decade to come. And I want to talk about this in context of my sort of three things: personal life, professional life, and then specific to the channel, streaming life. So I want to kind of set those three things there. I want to spend a few minutes talking about that, and then we'll go into the Game of the Year show. I'll talk about these games and why I like them and what I thought about them, and we can chat about those. And then we will get into some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So that's what we've got going on. Uber Haxor, exactly. Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, eventually. I mean, all of this stuff takes time, so that's kind of the... Oh, yeah, your nomination finally won, man. Finally won. The reason I don't want to do that... There's a reason I don't want to do it, Echo, but I can't explain why yet. Otherwise, I would have set the category to just chatting, but there's a reason I can't do that yet, which will make sense a little bit later. So, But I do want to talk very briefly about the decade just past, the decade to come, and then talk a little bit about this. And talk a little bit about the Game of the Year stuff. So, because this is although this is not the final stream of the year, that's technically going to be Tuesday, January 31st. This is the stream where I want to kind of, with everybody here, sort of chat a little bit about what the channel has meant and where we're going with things, and sort of my plan for stuff. So, I want to talk first of all about the kind of, I guess, the personal life stuff, and talk a little bit about how things have changed for me. And some of this is going to get kind of serious, and some of it will be fun, I hope. But I want to, and hey, Burner, what's going on, man? But I want to talk a little bit about that and sort of bring you all into this, because I think it's important to try to express how we are, honestly. So I want to set the scene. In 2010, when the 2010s began, when that decade began, I was 37, 36, 72. I was 30. No, I guess I would have been 38. Is that right? I would have been 38, I guess. Yeah, 38. Well, not at the beginning of the year, I wasn't. I was 37. I was 37 at the beginning of 2010, and my daughter had been born 2 years previous, had been born in 2008. I did not even know of the existence of Twitch yet. I hadn't done anything with that at all. I was still doing mostly a ton of podcasting was my sort of creative non-writing output. I was obviously doing music as well. I had just gotten tenure, and my mother had passed away in 2009 of breast cancer. And my first novel had just come out in 2009 as well, but I'll get back to that with the professional life stuff. So at the beginning of 2010, I was at the age of 37. I was doing okay health-wise, although things were kind of a little shaky emotionally and, whatever, but it was not anything that was kind of serious. And I will be fully honest and say that 30, I love that people are jumping in saying, this is how old you were, Arvia. Thank you. Thank you very much. So what I didn't know was going to happen, and no one can know over the course of the next decade, is how things would change for me health-wise. So there were some big health changes. For the early part of my 40s, from, roughly speaking, 2012 is when I turned 40. And then from the next couple of years, 13, 14, 15, I was playing a fair bit of tennis, and I was competing actually again and doing that stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And then I was in the middle of a tennis match when I was in the middle of league play, and my heart felt really weird. And I've told this story before on stream. And the result of it, what ended up happening was my heart rate was really fast, and it couldn't slow down. I couldn't get a pulse either, like it was just going too quickly. And so I ended up, feeling not really not feeling well. I finished the match, and then I went home and just figured, I was going to feel better. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I wasn't feeling better, and I couldn't get a pulse. My heart was just racing. And I was like, something is very wrong. And so I ended up going to my doctor the next morning. He sent me onto the ER, and it turned out that I had atrial fibrillation, which, for those of you who don't know, is a heart arrhythmia, which basically means there's an electrical problem with the heart where the heart beat is not beating fully. It means that one part of the heart is sort of vibrating like this, as opposed to beating blum, 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 which is the way that your heart is supposed to be. So my heart rate was around 140. And I felt terrible, and I felt, obviously frightened. And so I was admitted to the hospital. They tried to get the heartbeat steady, and they couldn't. And so what they ended up having to do was to bring me back into rhythm by doing something they called cardioversion. Cardioversion, in this case, was electrical cardioversion, and what that meant was that I was knocked out for about 5 minutes. I was put under, I guess it was sedation, but it's like strong sedation, and almost as like general anesthetic. And then they literally shock your heart back into rhythm. Now, and I woke up and I was fine. But I will fully admit that when I was, going under, because the only time that I've ever had anesthesia of any kind, at least not local, I'm not talking about like for dental work, but I mean, like actual medical anesthesia, is when I was getting my wisdom teeth out when I was like 16. I have never been in a hospital overnight except when I was doing so for my mother. I was never admitted myself. And so staying in the hospital and going to sleep, I was convinced I was going to die. I was convinced I was going to die. I was convinced I was never going to see my family again. I mean, my wife was there, but I was never going to see my daughter. My son had not yet been born. And this is 2013 that this happened, and I was convinced that was it. And I will tell you right now that having a brush with one's own mortality is not a fun experience. Some of you may have had that experience yourselves. It's not pleasant, and it was deeply traumatic and deeply painful for me. And the reason that I bring it up is that medical condition threw me for a loop. And it took me a while to get things stabilized again, because I went out of rhythm again a few years later, again, had to go back in the hospital, that time over Thanksgiving. And then there was one more time that I went out of rhythm, although that one, cardioverted on its own. And one of the things that they discovered when they were looking at this is that the heart structurally was in great shape. In fact, the cardiologist said, she's like, I love people like you. She's like, your heart's in great shape. You came in, you had 140 pulse rate. Your heart had no problems. You could have done that for a long time. The people I worry about, she said, are the people who come in with a pulse rate of 30. Those are the people that I worry about. She's like, but you were in great shape. I'm like, great. Well, I didn't feel like I was in great shape. What's up, Lenariella? Good to see you. Enjoy lurk status. Um, so why am I telling you this story? And I ended up going in to get acupuncture and all that kind of stuff. And so as I look now at the age of 47, back at this, I will say that my health is stabilized, medically speaking, for a variety of reasons. Consistent acupuncture, much better sleep, much better and more consistent sort of care, and things like that. Also, emotional, therapy has been a big deal. All of those things have made a difference. But I will be honest, I have not been able to really get on a tennis court competitively for probably 6 years now, because it's very, very hard psychologically to say to myself, all right, I'll just go on the tennis court, and if I go out of rhythm again, that's fine. Because the last time that happened to me, my fear was that I was going to be dead. I am telling you all of this to say that when you assess how your life looks and how your life is, I think it's important to constantly ask yourself, no matter what age you are, whether you are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever age, it's important to assess where you are physically and emotionally, and whether you really are as comfortable and healthy as you could be, and whether you can take steps to make sure that you are. I have never really been good at being able to just let go and do nothing, and just kind of sit back and kind of lie in a lounge chair and just read a book or just stare up at the clouds for hours. I've never been good at doing that. But the reality is that I am fully convinced that the reason that I ended up in the hospital, and the reason that I was in, rough shape and psychologically in as rough shape as I was, is because I internalized a lot of my anger and frustration and things I'm not going to get into here, but, just general stuff. I internalized a lot of the feelings that I possessed, and I pretended that I was fine. And I wasn't fine. And pretending that you're fine, pretending that you're okay, pretending that everything is fine when it's not, is not helpful, and ultimately creates real physical stresses and harms. Some of you may remember a Twitch viewer, his name was Sociocide, who we found out some years ago had actually committed suicide. This is a guy who was a former Army vet, and was one of these guys that, he was not really as much a member of my community as he was another person's community that, we used to hang out with. But it was a shock to the system, to everybody. And it was another reminder that these are real people on the other end of the names that we see appearing on the text boxes. Why am I bringing all this up? Because my hope is that by sharing my personal story and by sharing my personal experience of trauma and sadness and fear and grief, that I can express a little bit about the way that life can look, hopefully, on the other side of it, and the importance of continually checking in with yourself and making sure that you are taking care of you, and making sure that you reach out to others to help you in the taking care of you. One of the founding principles of this channel, and this channel started in 2012, but this event that I'm describing happened in 2013, and it took me a couple years to process all of it. But the founding principle of this channel has been the idea of bringing people together, and bringing people together in community for common purpose. That's not just lip service. Right? I'm not just saying that because it sounds like a good branding idea. I'm not doing this for branding reasons. I'm doing it because I think it is enormously important for people to be able to reach out to each other. I wore this shirt intentionally. This, of course, as you all know, good to see you, Cyber Piglet, is a Thundercats shirt. And the Thundercats shirt is based upon an 80s cartoon, as most of you will know, with Lion-O and Tigra and Cheetara and Panthro and Snarf and all the other crew with the Thundercats. Now, the 80s Thundercats show was a kind of goofy, very campy, and frankly has not aged particularly well show, except for the Thundercats, ho sound, which is still awesome. But the rest of the show is really not aged particularly well. It was designed to sell toys. It was not some kind of deathless cartoon, although the new one is pretty good, I should say. But the reason that I wanted to wear this shirt and the reason that that cartoon was important to me, and I didn't think about why it was important, of course, until I was much older, is that it was an example of people that were coming together to help each other in common purpose. And a lot of the cartoons I watched at that time were like that. Mask, which I loved, Voltron, which I loved, Transformers, which I loved, obviously Lord of the Rings, which shaped my experience, was one of the most important book that I read in my childhood. All of these deal with quite literally fellowships, groups of people coming together and communicating towards common purpose and helping each other out, expressing love towards each other. And that love and expression of care and a willingness to fight for each other as well and to bring people together into the community is, I think, deeply powerful. And I think when we look around the sort of landscape today of the end of 2019 and looking into 2020, and there is a tendency for people to go, my God, like, are we going to survive? Are we going to make it? I don't think anything's going to matter, blah, 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 blah. It's really important to recognize that people who want us to fail want you to believe that you're alone. People who want us to fail want us to believe that we're isolated and that we should give in to cynicism and that we should not care about belief. They want us to think that we are failures and that we are individual failures and that no one else will ever understand us and we should just isolate in our own rooms and fade away. They are wrong. They are 100% wrong. We are, if you will, legion. People who care about each other, who are hardwired biologically as humans are to care about each other, are far more numerous than those who wish to hate and destroy others. And that is the principle that will ultimately, I believe, save us, because we come together to fight in common purpose. And that's why I'm wearing the shirt, and that's why I'm running the channel, and that's why I write the work I do, teach in the profession that I do, play music in the way that I do, play games in the way that I do. It's the reason that I love tabletop games. It's the reason I love cooperative games, because I love working together for common purpose. And we, I think, as a species, and for us as an individual set of, small people that's growing all the time as the Arvanauts, even being called the Arvanauts is part of a sort of general feeling I want to possess, I want to create, of us working as a community. So I want to encourage everyone in the decade to come to reach out to people on this channel, to reach out to others in the Discord, to reach out to others on Twitter, to say, hey, I saw you in our stream the other night. I know you said you like this game. Do you want to hang out and play a game together? Hey, I saw you were talking in our stream the other night. It seemed like you were a little bit down. Do you want to chat? Is there anything I can do to help? I want us to recommit to each other in the decade of 2020 to 2029. In the decade that is to come, I want us to recommit to connecting to each other. I want you to think about the best part of this cartoon, which is the Thundercats, where Lion-O summons all the people together. I want you to think about things in those terms. And doing that kind of work is extremely important. People have shared things on this channel and shared things with me because of that feeling. And I want to emphasize, I am not a therapist. I am not an expert in mental health. I do have some training in it because I have to do that for my teaching and other work, but I am not a therapist. Normally, if someone has serious issues, then what I try to do is also hear them, listen to them, but also try to direct them to other sources and other resources. But as Terma just said, I want to be clear about this, that it's extremely important that you reach out and get help from other people, but part of that means reaching out and helping others and asking for help when it's needed. So what as Terma just said there, I think is extremely important. And what Coven Guy said is extremely important. I mean, I remember, a couple of months ago, a few months ago now, Coven Guy telling the story about this experience of him coming onto the channel and feeling like connections with myself, with the other people on the channel. And that's very moving to me. And it's exactly what this channel is here for. It's here to have fun. It's here to play games. It's here to talk about story and narrative, but it's ultimately here to build communities, to communicate with each other, and to bring us together, because these smaller dedicated communities become larger dedicated communities, and those larger dedicated communities eventually can grow into incredibly powerful forces for change. And we are required to do this. So when you hear people sort of telling you to, whatever, like, why are you bothering with that Twitch BS? Why do you care about playing games? Why do you care about this stuff? Who cares about that? You've never met this person. You've never met that person. They're all lying to you. I want you to reject that cynicism utterly. The greatest threat we possess is the cynicism of belief in isolation, that we are all alone. It is nonsense. It is not true. And if anything over the last 10 years has been borne out to me, it is that the more that I connect and reach out, the better I feel. And so as we come to the end of this decade, I am in a much better place health-wise at the end of 2010s than I was at the beginning of it. And part of that is because I've gotten real honest with myself about what I can and can't do, who I should and shouldn't reach out to, and most importantly, that I'm not superhuman and that I can't do it all myself, and that I can't pretend that it's okay when it's not. And it's dangerous to do that. And so I really want to emphasize the importance of seeking help elsewhere, but I also want you to, as well, in addition, seek help in this community here and to spread it to other people. When you see them. This also goes for if you've had, friends or family members that you haven't connected with, that you've been like, we had kind of a little annoying argument, and like I haven't talked to them in a few months because of whatever, so I feel like I should connect with them. Then do it. I had this person that I really cared about, and then they fell out of my life, and now they're come back into my life, and I don't know if I want to sort of like take a chance and do that again. If you have people that are toxic and destructive, then I do think you should move them away from your life because you don't need them. This is not an argument to reach out to people who are constantly hurting you, but it is an argument to reach out to someone, to connect to someone, and to try to do that as much as you possibly can, because the more that we can connect and communicate, the better. And so at the end of, the 2010s, I talked about my physical health. Therapy, which I continue to do, has been very helpful. The personal struggles and griefs of things with, my immediate family, things with, my dog that passed away, the health struggles that I dealt with, other family members that have struggled through stuff, friends that have struggled through difficult things. These are all things that had an impact. And the way to sort of keep going forward is to continually reach out and connect with each other. And so I want us to all try to recommit to that. And it's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this here. There were also a lot of great personal things that happened in my life, including the birth of my son in 2016, Mini Arv, who many of you got a chance to see for about 5 minutes on the stream the other day before he went to sleep because he was real tired. And he's a joy. Watching my daughter, Little Arv, grow up, who I've said many times is just the light of my life. She is a luminous spirit, right? And it's been a great joy to do that. It's been a joy to draw closer to my wife. And marriages are, we've been married now for 17 years, almost. It's 16 years and 17 years next year. And we have been together in some form or another for 22 years now. So we've been together a long time, and marriages and relationships take work. And so it's continually a work in progress, but we are committed to continually working through things together. So, I don't have all the answers by any means, but if I look back at what was a very difficult personal decade in a lot of ways, it's also a decade in which I learned something about how I would move forward. And being able to move forward was really important to me. I haven't talked about the professional. I'll talk about that in just a second, but just on the personal side, that is what I wanted to say. And so now let me just talk a little bit about that. That's okay, Cyber Piglet. You can be wrong about your football teams. All right, let me jump back up to this and see what people said. Police can be beaten back. Oh, thank you, Arenth. Medical leave from work. I took stock of things. Yeah, I appreciate that very much, Terma. That's very. I appreciate that very much. I know you've talked a little bit about the medical leave stuff before. I hope that you're hanging in there, and I hope you will continue to seek and get help, and you'll hopefully continue to reach out to us and to other people in the communities around you. We really appreciate you. Like I will finish this whole little peroration by talking about how great chat is. But I just wanted to say again, thank you for that. Also, hi, Bud, too. Welcome, Rhiannon. What's up, man? Good to see you. Amen, Coven Guy. Thanks. Good. Good. I'm glad. And listen, my wife is a professional. She is a therapist, and I can tell you right now how much incredible work she does. Like it really, really matters. So yeah, exactly, Echo. 100%. Yeah, and of course, Arudinel, one of the things I love about this channel is that there's so many great people in it and so many people who are willing to talk with each other in a meaningful way. You know, it's not about oversharing, it's about listening and about connecting with people. And so I'm really, really happy about that. Thank you, Garlic Tofu. And I'm going to come to Garlic Tofu, who is, of course, Emily from Athos Arts. I'm going to come to Athos Arts in a minute when I talk about the professional side, because this is one of the real success stories. So, but I'm very grateful that you were in the world as well. I really genuinely consider you people that are friends, and not just people that I have a professional relationship, but a personal relationship with. And that's why I wanted us to have a professional relationship, is because the personal professional are so, in this regard, closely linked. And you're on the side of the angels, and I know you know that. I know you know that I believe that about you, but I just wanted to make that clear. There was also that amazing moment in my life when I had a box of raisins on stream. Yeah, that was not a highlight, Coven. That was actually one of the lowest points of the decade, and thank you for reminding me. Uh, yeah, the clip of my dog. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to play that now, Echo, already, because I've already teared up a little bit, and we'll be doing more of it, and I just don't feel like sobbing on stream. But I appreciate that very much, man. Thank you. Thanks, Aruden. No, that's very kind of you, man. Thank you. Oh, I that's very meaningful to me. Thank you, Ernth. I hope it's nice to think of that, but it's a mutual thing. You know, like I set the tone and my mods fulfill the tone, but chat is what couples the tone. And me just standing there and being like, oh, blah, 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 isn't going to matter if the people don't support it and enable it. So thank you. Oh, your good friend shared my D&D episode one. Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's really cool, Echo. I'm glad. And it sounds like that film club is a really awesome, so that's really cool. Really nonstop. I did not know that. Oh my God. I'm glad nonstop that you were able to work. I'm not saying I don't know if it's all better, but I'm glad that you were able to work through it. That must have taken a lot of strength and work on your part to manage it. Wow. I actually knew someone who had muscular dystrophy too. My goodness. I shoot more raisins now. Hey, what's up, Gamermain? Good to see you, man. All right, so hence my personal stuff. Let me talk a little bit about the professional stuff as well. So in 2010, it was the year after my first novel had been published, but I had not had other stuff published yet other than my academic book in 2007 and in 2010. And so from a professional point of view, it has been a very good decade, but there was a thing I had to work through, and I'll explain that in a minute. So in the 2010s, I got to do a lot of convention stuff. I got to connect with a lot of people doing the Writers' Symposium. I got to do a lot of, at Gen Con, I got to do a lot of travel as well, and I got to do a lot of stuff involving other work that I produced. So we had the original Icarus version, which came out from Silence in the Library Publishing, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. We had the Forbidden Library, which I guess I can still kind of count as being in this decade. It's close. It's close anyway. We had Gray Shade, which came out from the Ed Greenwood group. We had a bunch of short stories that were released as well. I actually was able to do some game writing for Ascension. I was able to do game writing for the video game Chosen Heart. I was able to do, various kinds of writing along those lines. And I also got a chance to establish myself as a professional in the ways that I wanted to produce my own work. So not only did I get 2 albums out with my band in 2010, Monomyth, which came out in 2010, and then 5 years later, which came out last year towards the end of that same decade. But I was also able to establish myself professionally as a writer, and also, and I'll come back to this, as a gamer and as a game designer and master. And I'll talk about game mastering and DMing and stuff in a little bit. So from a professional point of view, I was able to kind of deepen my professional experience working with people like Brad Bollier, with my good friend Mike Underwood, who's now the co-host of Speculate with me, Turbo Tango on here. I've really had the chance to kind of develop that. And I've had a chance to get in touch with, oh my God, Aerith with the subscription. Oh no, actually, Commander Dunzel with a gift sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What's up, Joey's Junior Variety Channel? Thank you so much, Dunzel, for the gift sub, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. And thanks everybody. I appreciate that. Good to see you, Joey's Junior. So, I'm not going to do Dragon Con, unfortunately. I can't. Oh, thank you. You know what? I got to get through this next stage, and then I'll come back and respond to everybody, or otherwise I'll keep stopping. But thank you all so much. Can we sub to keep the shirt off? No. This is, you don't have a problem with this shirt, gamer, do you? This shirt you shouldn't have a problem with, man. I understand you don't necessarily want the Pittsburgh shirt, but the Pittsburgh stuff, but you gotta want to love this. I mean, come on, that other shirt. Okay, yeah. So professionally, I also had the chance to deal with a number of really good small presses. I got a chance to connect with Ed Greenwood. Think about that for a minute. I ended up doing the Forbidden Library, right, which made over $27,000 on Kickstarter with a bunch of people, these legendary game designers, and Ed Greenwood published a novel of mine and said it was great. Ed Greenwood, this is coming from a guy who had, like, second edition posters. First of all, bought first edition, had second edition posters of Forgotten Realms stuff up on my wall. And Ed Greenwood, I can count as a personal friend. What? Like, I mean, that just is kind of mind blowing to me in a way. And that's an example of, things that change. I mean, I wrote an article about I was severely bullied when I was younger, especially in high school, between really about 7th, 8th grade, all the way up to about 11th grade. I was severely bullied. And I mean, hit by a 2x4, like beaten up a lot. And that had a big effect on me too, as you might imagine. And if anyone could have told me at that time that this awkward, kind of gangly kid who was uncomfortable in his own skin and who was uncomfortable in his own body and, just wanted to get along and didn't, that sort of thing, that kid who was getting his, face beat in on the regular was going to end up being in a position where he would have these people that he honored, these heroes that he respected, being able to be a part of his life and to respect him as a professional. I don't know what I would have said, and I think that's extraordinary that was able to happen. The Forbidden Library was amazing, and then, of course, the Ed Greenwood stuff, that is going to be resurfacing in both board game and RPG form, and, of course, novel form next year. And Garlic Tofu and Ballsteg are here, and I just want to note both of them. I mean, Emily and Chris are really genuinely good people, and the reason that I want to talk about them is because this is an example of how the personal and professional, I think, can intermix. Athos Arts is the publisher, of course, that runs this. They are an independent publisher that does really, really great work, does really interesting anthologies that are that really deal with questions of representation. They try to represent underrepresented communities. They try to publish this work and produce it. And they are on, as I've said, on the side of the angels, right? And I had a chance to speak to them at the Gen Con Writer Symposium. Chris had been moderator on a couple of my panels there, and we got a chance to chat at the little hangout thing, and I talked to Emily, and I gave her a copy of Icarus and everything, and we just sort of hit it off, and it was very clear to me that these were the people that we could really work together well, and we did manage to work together well, and they worked tirelessly to make the Kickstarter happen. And you folks, and I'm saving you all for last, you folks were a huge part of this as well, so that we were able to fund it, and it was the biggest at the time Kickstarter that they had ever done. It's important to recognize that they are not making a fortune on this. They should be. They should be getting even more attention and credit, and I hope and believe that they will. But it's not easy for them, and it's not easy for them to make, to do all of this. It's not easy for any small press or micro press. And in a world where you can see small presses having these issues that exist and things pop up and controversies and, all these things, if you followed writer Twitter or speculative fiction writer Twitter, you'll see a little of this. They are an example of people that do it right. And there are a lot of small presses like them that do it right. But they do it right from a founding principle and a belief that writing matters, that narrative matters, and most of all, that the people who write and read matter, and the people who edit and write and read matter. And so I want to thank them for being friends, and I want to thank them for being a part of this community, but I also want to thank them for working with me on my work too, because I think that their influence has made my work better. I hope that my work will also be I hope it's a good example of I hope it represents Athos well, let me say it that way. And I hope that they will get the credit that they deserve. And I want to mention that if people are looking for freelance editors or freelance work, and they're looking for people to do layout and design, which is something that Chris is great at, or they're looking for people who can do freelance editing, which is something that Emily is great at, please consider supporting them because Athos really does great work. So I just want to personally thank Chris and Emily for being great people and being a part of this really great publisher, and thank them for taking a chance on Icarus, which had been through some ups and downs, that were not mostly of my making, but they were ups and downs nonetheless. And a lot of publishers wouldn't have done that. And so I'm very grateful that they were willing to do it. And so I'm thank you again from the bottom of my heart for that. You mentioned Forbidden Library, and I do want to also thank the Alligator Alley guys. The Alligator Alley Entertainment folks, Brian and Chris and Eric and Rich. Those guys, it is not a big team, but they have put together a really good company. It's been my honor to do Espergenesis with them, and it's been my honor to work with them in Forbidden Library. And I'm telling you, if you could see some of the art that's been produced that some of the Kickstarter backers now have, I'm telling you, I feel like this book is an award waiting to happen. Same thing with Icarus, by the way, because the art is so good and the work is so good in editing and layout that Chris and the other Chris Suda, and Emily have done, Athos has done on Icarus. Same thing with Forbidden Library. Like, I'm just so honored. I just see it and I'm just like, holy crap, it's so great. I really wanted to do well, not just for me. I'm obviously happy if my stuff does well, but I want to do it because I want those people that I work with to do well also. I have a middle grade manuscript called Winnie and Wormwood, which is out to beta readers. I'm looking forward to sending that out to agents in March or April. I'm very excited for the release of Icarus, which is coming out at the end of April, early May. And again, exclamation point Icarus, if you want to pre-order that. It looks so great. And I just, we have plans for more books in the series. Gray Shade, as I mentioned, is going to have this big push that's going to be happening next year. So I'm very excited about what the future holds. Earlier this year, I also had the second edition of my academic book published. And that too was amazing to me. I mean, just as an example, right? I don't know how to explain this except to say this book, which originally started as a dissertation, and then I refined into the first edition of my book, and then I wrote a new introduction, new prologue, updating some of the research for the second edition. Look at how beautiful this is. Look at how beautiful this is. How wonderful. Whoa. Oh, we got a pledge for the Patreon. It works. My alert system works. And also, thank you for the Patreon support. Thank you. That's awesome. Let us update that. Let's update that bad boy. There it is, 323. Oh, that's you. Oh, dude. Coven guy, man. You're too generous. Too much. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Now we need to update your favorite football team. Thank you, Coven. That's really, thank you, dude. Thank you, man. So, right. I would have figured it out though. So, but thanks, dude. Anyway, this, look at how beautiful this is. I mean, it's an academic book, right? But just look how beautifully the book is put together. Look how beautiful. Thank you, Ballstick, so much. Look at, the inner design of this, right? It's just, I don't know how to describe it except to say it's just a gorgeous book. And this is something which really connects me to my father, because my father, this was the kind of thing that he was able to do. They just did such a good job with it. And again, it's an example of, it's a university press. They don't make a fortune on it, but they're working hard out of love. And the result is in a book that I'm honored to have written and to be connected to. So, yeah, you'll get one, dude. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for the sub, Ballstick. I appreciate that. So the point that I'm making here professionally is that at the beginning of the decade, I had just had something published, but I didn't know where anything else was going to stand. I get to the end of that decade and I've written a number more manuscripts. I've published a lot more short stories. I've had a lot more stuff out there, and I've had the chance to have, work noticed on a professional side of things, both game design and otherwise. And that leads me, so I'm excited is my point about where things are going professionally. And that leads me to talk about gaming and game mastering, which will finally lead me to you guys in this channel. So one of the things that I, at the beginning of 2010, had not done for a while is DM. I was DMing and GMing. No problem, Ballstick. Thank you, dude. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. At the beginning of the 2010s, I had not DM'd for a long time. And part of the reason for that was not having a group to do it with. I played a lot of board games still, but I didn't have a group to play it with. And part of it was this general feeling that like, well, I'm I'm not really like I'm an academic, right? And I'm an author and I don't know about this gaming, like how people are going to look at it. Always being worried about what other people would think about this thing, right? And when I found Twitch in 2012 and I started to, find myself being drawn into it in the way that, by the way, that I have a project I can't talk about, a nonfiction project that involves Twitch that I'm excited to hopefully move forward on that front, I hope sooner rather than later. But as I started to get into that, I began to notice that I love DMing. I love it. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love tabletop role playing. I adore having the opportunity to game master with people because what it is collaborative storytelling. And what a joy. And we had the chance over the last year, over the last decade, to play Dungeons and Dragons with viewers, multiple adventures with many of you sitting right here in chat at this moment. I had the chance to play D&D with the Infinity and Beyond crew, and I've played Tyranny of Dragons, the Horde of the Dragon Queen, Rise of Tiamat, Curse of Strahd that we're doing now. I've had a chance to play Space Opera, Esper Genesis. I've had a chance to play Adventures of Middle-earth, J.R.R. Tolkien, one of my, an enormous influential love of mine. Things like The Warren, Napoleon, not Stranger Things, Tales from the Loop. I've had a chance to do all of these things. And to play Hearts of Wulin, watch those being hosted on my channel, Emberwind being hosted on my channel, play games like Lasers and Feelings, Assignment Impossible, Mission Impossible related stuff. And it struck me how much I love tabletop role-playing and how much game mastering matters to me because it is storytelling and it's collaborative work. And getting a chance to do it in front of an audience like I did at Gen Con and having a chance to do it in front of an audience, which is all of you folks that we do every time we stream it on here, has been an absolute joy. And it's something that I didn't realize how much I missed it until I started playing again. And I'm like, the hell was I waiting for? Why did I wait so long to do this again? And I did. And now that I not only have tenure, but I've been promoted to full professor, now I don't give a damn what people think, because I will defend the value of game design and game narrative and game mastering and tabletop playing from here to the cows go home. I think I am on extremely solid ground, both academically, intellectually, and most of all, mostly what we need emotionally. What we can do together as storytellers in the game mastering environment is easily the equal of what we can do in a poem, in a novel, in a short story, in a nonfiction piece. We can do these things in a powerful way. And I am so grateful that a platform like this exists that allows me to do this with people from literally all over the planet, so that I can play with people in Australia, people in London, people in Canada, people in Brazil, people in Mexico, people in the United Kingdom, people in China, people in Japan. I can play games with all these people because of the power of the internet to connect us together. And that to me is one of the great surprises and joys that I've had over the last decade, is the fact that I've returned to my love of gaming. And I really consider myself, when I look at my professional life, an author, gamer, musician. And I think of myself in those terms. My music is extremely important to me. Obviously, my writing is extremely important to me, but my gaming is also. And my ability that I've worked on for many years, my experience as a game master, and my joy at bringing so many different people into these stories together is just a great joy. So I want to thank everyone who's been a part of the gaming part of this channel, tabletop gaming part of this channel, either as an audience member or a participant over the last 10 years. And because that's really important to me and has made a huge difference to me. So professionally, it was a pretty good decade, and I'm looking forward to hopefully even better decade to come. Now I want to go back and take a look, and then I will talk last of all about this channel, and then finally we will get into the Game of the Year show. And I warned you all this was going to be running a little bit, so sorry. All right, let me go up here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, a kidney failure in early 2013. You got transplant 4 months ago. Jesus, nonstop. I did not know this. You know, the thing that amazes me about that nonstop is that you're just so often here. You know what I mean? Like you're just such a presence in the channel. So it's not something that would have struck that I would have known. And I'm honored that you feel willing, that you feel safe enough to be able to share that and good to share that with us. And I hope it's going well, man. That's really awesome. I'm really glad about that. And of course, Kilobyte, I did know about that, the situation dialysis, which I know has made things a lot better, as I believe they have been for Kilobyte since he's been dealing with that. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris Ballstag. I hope I'm authentic. I really strive to be. So thank you. And yeah. Um, okay, I said hi to Joey Jr. already. Thank you, Coven Guy. Listening to Monomyth is always a fun thing. I'll tell you what, too. 5 years later, because 5 years later really was covering music that I wrote over the last decade. It's pretty dark because I was not in a great place over a lot of that last decade. And so it's interesting to me that kind of, I didn't mean it that way, but it's interesting the album came out that way, but I'm proud of it. All right, I already thanked Dunsel for the gift subs, which is awesome. Stream shirtless. There you go. Elminster Singer praises. Hey, I hear that, Brahms. Also, thanks to Brahms, by the way, for being a good guy, and obviously I've met him in person several times as well. Lots of quarters flushed down coin op games. Yeah, I hear that, man. Forbidden Library is going to be awesome. Oh well, I'm glad to hear it, garlic tofu. I'm glad that it's hearing that it's an honor is an honor to hear, frankly. So thank you. And yeah, and I really believe that there is enough good work that you folks are doing that it is going to get noticed. But it requires everyone to sort of support it. It's not just going to happen by accident. It's going to happen because people get together and back it up. So, but yeah. Yeah, I'm glad, Brahms. Yeah, Brahms got a chance to actually hear me read part of Winnie and Wormwood. I'm very excited about that. So, no, I'm not updating my favorite football team. Okay, thank you for the resub. Mr. Trich Crew. Foom and the rest of the group. Yeah, that's right, Gamerman. Yeah. Legend of Grimrock. Legend of Grimrock. Yeah, it was my first stream that I ever made on 2012. Yep. Yep. More D&D. I'm excited. I'm excited to host Shadowed doing it, and you playing with Rock God and Kilobyte and the whole crew. It's going to be great. Film to see another dreams. The game is to experience them. Yeah, that's quite right, Arudino. Yep. But it's cool because you can watch people experiencing those dreams now, which I think is pretty amazing. So I'm not crying. You're crying. Hope you're doing well. All those people with crummy kidneys. I'd get more viewers. What is this GIF? Do I want to know what this GIF is? This GIF better not be. Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. DMing him Discord or the channel, give it a read at the stream. Okay, we'll do that. I will do that, Echo. Can let some go while you're on Subdisc Community. I have done Dragon Con in the past, Gamer. Actually, I was on the Tolkien track, so I used to do that for a few years. And then they got rid of the Tolkien track, which sucked because I actually enjoyed it. Was a lot of people, and I enjoyed the presence of it. But I have not done it because I don't have an official. I can't go unless I have an official kind of role at it, because otherwise I don't get it supported by my university. And at the moment, we're in the midst of a travel cost freeze, so I can't actually go to a lot of cons. I had to cancel going to Confusion in Detroit, which I know I was too bad because that was something which Emily's very involved with. Garlic Tofu is very involved with, and I was looking forward to because everyone raves about that convention, but I can't swing plane tickets right now until they reinstitute the travel support and budget support. So especially because I may be teaching abroad next fall. I don't know. But if that happens, then I really got to save my cash. So anyway, but yeah, so I have done in the past, would like to do it in the future, but not at the moment though. Does that retire more time to stream and run D&D games? You said it, Arenth. When I retire, it's about family time, reading, and streaming and playing games. You got it, man. Icarus and Jelnik. That's right, Coven. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, the art is so good. I just am really excited for you all to see Icarus and Jelinek. I'm really excited for it. You are always a big part. Chiefs Kingdom is a welcoming community. Listen, I'm glad the Chiefs are playing better, and I fully expect that the Steelers they'll be lucky even to make it in the playoffs. That's fine. As long as the Patriots don't win. That is job one, okay? I'm just here to type nonsense. You are always a big part, Rhiannon, of the emotes that you're able to bring here. Let me see. Try this picture. What is this? This better not be an anti-Steeler meme. You stop that, gamer. You stop that. Uh, I can't talk about that in detail yet, Lone Wolf, because it's not finalized and it depends on whether the program happens. In March, I will know one way or the other whether it's happening or not. And whether it happens or not, I can tell you where it would have been. Actually, you know what? No, actually, I take that back. I take it back. I actually can completely do that. I take it back. It would be teaching. I forgot that I'm allowed to say this now. It's in Rome. So I am teaching a world building program in Rome that has two courses as part of it. One of it is Revenge Tragedy, which I teach because literally I teach Seneca as part of that, and Seneca like literally did this in theaters within Rome, but also world building, which is a new course, which is talking about world building in games, in fiction, and in film. And that's going to be happening in the fall, but we need students to sign up for it from my university, which is St. John's. We need 12 people at least. They feel confident that we'll get the 12, but I don't know. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. So that's what we're doing. So that's the deal with that. I'm excited. It would be great because the family would be coming with me and and I'd still be streaming. I have RFBox and the whole business. And part of why I do this is because of this Twitch thing that I haven't talked about, can't talk about yet. That I can't talk about yet, but we'll be able to do more of later on down the line. Let's see. He's here to tell me to watch the Diablo 4 trailer. That's true. Hey, what's up, Varney? What's up, man? Exactly. When in Rome, right? I would be away from late August, so like the third or fourth week of August, and then it depends. At least through early January, but I don't know if because I actually have a sabbatical which was granted to me for the spring semester of 2021, which is oh man, am I looking forward to that because I need a rest. I mean, I literally have been teaching steadily I've either been in school or teaching since I was 5. No, not continuously. I took 1 year off, which is between my master's work and my PhD work. Other than that, I have been in school either learning or teaching since I was 5 years old. And to be clear, that means that I've had 41 years of work. So I am looking forward to a semester where I'm not doing that. Now, I still am going to be doing some writing and stuff. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I get the sabbatical is because of doing work on this nonfiction thing that I can't talk about more yet. But still. And where that takes place, whether we would be coming home to America and we would be doing that in America, that sabbatical here back home, or whether I would be doing that somewhere else in Europe is yet to be determined. So I'm going to be gone for at least third week of August all the way through first week of January, but I might be gone longer than that. Now, that will not, I should say, I'm still going to be streaming regularly because this is one of the reasons I got ARVBox, because I am going to be streaming with you, with folks. So don't worry, we're still keeping things up. I'm not abandoning the stream, but I will be doing it from a different place. And Italy, from my understanding, does have internet. I'm pretty confident. So that's the thing. Yes, and some culture for little Arv is exactly right. She, her 7th grade year, that will be her 7th grade year. And she has a school, obviously she's been going to school this whole time, but if she took a year off from school and instead of going to where she goes, she was in Italy for a year with us, that's a pretty goddamn good educational 7th grade year. I'm here to tell you. So I'm pretty good with that. So, true. Fair enough, Arendt. Yeah, fair enough. But there's a difference between learning or teaching that you're doing just as a part of the process of life and formally grading, preparing, mostly grading. Honestly, if I could teach and just not grade, I think, but the grading, oh God, but anyway, so now, last thing I want to talk about, then we'll get into games of the year. Last thing I want to talk about is about this channel. Now, you all know how important this channel has been to me. I love the Arvanauts. I think you're a wonderful community, and I want to start by thanking all of you. I want to thank all of the viewers who have made this a great joy to do. I started in 2012, April of 2012, just streaming Legend of Grimrock with a bunch of blinking, I didn't know how to capture it right, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Fast forwarding from that to this introduction that I just played, that is really awesome to me, that I feel like I'm in a position to be able to do more of that than I did. That's really cool. And so I'm just really honored that I've been able to share this with you and that you've all come along for the ride. You've been a big part of the sort of publishing stuff that's happened, a big part of the gaming stuff that's happened. I've met many of you in person at conventions and elsewhere, which has been a great joy to me. So I want to thank all of you for being good people, and I want to remind everyone that whatever parts of your own life that you're not proud of, or whatever aspects of your life that you wish you could do this differently, that differently, when you're here, you've been family, and you're a big part of what I like to think of as my professional profile and my personal profile too. I genuinely care about you all. And I hope you will take that on board, and I hope you will look at each other, virtually speaking, in chat, and recognize that there's a lot of love to go around. This, again, what we do here is a model, I'd like to think, for the way the world can be outside of this. And so if you can take some of the warmth you feel in moments like this and spread that around to people that are close to you and people that aren't close to you, people in the supermarket, people that you see on the bus, people that you see walking to school, people that you see walking to work, just the kindness of being able to reach out to each other the way that we try to do in here is enormously powerful, and I think will have a profound effect on everyone. So thank all of you, those who are here live and those who can't be here right now, and who are just listening to me on the VOD or watching me in the VOD. Thank all of you who have been a part of this channel's makeup, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, because it really has made a huge difference. I also want to send a shout out to not just the subscribers, who of course have been wonderful, the Patreon supporters who are wonderful. I also want to send a shout out to Shadow Mage, who's done all the amazing work on Arcanaspot. I want to send a shout out to Kilobyte, who's done all the amazing work on the video designs, Chrono Wolf, who's done all the wonderful work on music, Echo Alpha, who's done all the amazing work on clips and things like that. All of you have done, gone above and beyond, so thank you. And I want to spend a special thank you to the mods. I've said many times that the mods are the unsung heroes of these streams. Any channel you go to, anyone who knows what they're doing will know that the mods really matter, because I can only be so many places at once. Even when I have, depending, I mean, I've streamed to as much as 8,000 people over on GOG when I was doing the Thronebreaker debut. And when you got a lot of people, you can't be everywhere at once. You can't interact with everybody at once. So the mods are absolutely worth their weight in gold. And my mods in particular really understand the mood that we're trying to set, the tone that we're trying to set, which is supportive and kind and caring. And people who come in and want to be like, I'm going to go crap on everybody, they are out, because I don't want them here. I don't want people that want to add toxicity to the mix. I want to reach out and bring in, and that is what the mods do here. So I want to thank the mods. I will be sending the mods separate thank yous on Discord and the Discord channel, but I wanted to publicly thank them here because I really do think they're the best crew of moderators on Twitch, and I think that you as viewers are the best viewers that exist on Twitch as well. Yes, I'm biased, but I happen to have the benefit of also being correct in my bias, so whatever. But genuinely, thank you to the mods, and thank you to the regular viewers, thank you to the subscribers, thank you to the Patreon supporters, and thank you to all those who gift subs, thank you to all those who give bits, thank you to all those who spread the word, and mostly thank you for just being in the chat. Whether you're lurking or contributing, you are a big part of what we do and why we do it, and whether we're successful or not depends really on all of you doing it together. I am very proud to have you as the Arvanauts, and to have you folks as this crew of intrepid adventurers in this little funny thing we call the Voyage of Life. And so thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I am very excited about what the future holds for the channel. The channel is a big part of my personal and professional plans going forward in terms of tabletop stuff. Quite obviously, we're going to continue a bunch of things. As Echo has mentioned, we'll be starting a new community-based D&D game, which is going to be happening every other week. That's going to be launching in January. I have other plans afoot in terms of things that are going to come back. For example, I do want to bring back Hearts of Wulin for a second season. I'm looking to see how we can do that. I am optimistic we'll be able to do that at some point in the not too distant future. We will continue, of course, with Infinity and Beyond. We'll continue with Esper Genesis. We'll continue with Adventures of Middle-earth. We'll continue with GOG with D&D, with GOG with D&D, Storm King's Thunder. We will continue with D&D with viewers, and we will continue to look for other games which can be hosted on this channel. We will continue with Emberwind as well, which is, of course, John hosting that. And of course, Brahms plays there. there, as well as Jennifer and Marie and Saad. And so I'm very excited for the future of the channel. We also will continue to do the Masters of the Dungeon show, the Our Vocalist shows, the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Games of the Month. We will also continue to do the game book streams. We will continue to do all of that, plus the video games that I do as well, because it's a part of what I do, and why I do it is really what this channel is all about. And so the decade to come, I think, is going to be great as well, and I'm excited about how that all works, and I'm glad we're affirmative on the encoder. That's going to be great. So, so basically, a complex and somewhat difficult decade that just passed, an exciting and I hope uplifting decade for everyone to come. And my only takeaway message from all of this is continue to be you, reach out to people, stay engaged, make sure to vote, register to vote every time. It really matters. Tell everyone you know, get them to vote. It really matters. And most importantly, do not give up. Do not give in to cynicism. Cynicism is the only true enemy. Let that go. Banish it from your mind. You can make a difference in your life and in the lives of people around you if you do it together, and you can only do that if you believe you can do it. Reject the cynical, easy, oh, whatever, it's not going to matter, nothing I do matters. That's cynical, and it's wrong, and it's been proven wrong over and over and over again. So just as you contribute to the life of this channel, I hope you will contribute to the life of the people around you. And if we can all do that together, we will have a much happier world going forward in the decade to come. So, yes, lick and smash, exactly. So, with all of that said, thank you all for listening in and checking this out. And yes, absolutely, Echo, absolutely. So, with all of that said, time has come for the Game of the Year stream. Now, I looked at the games that I played this year, and what I've normally done in the past is I've tried to split these into two different lists of games that I played in 2019 that were released for the first time this year, and games in 2019 that I played whether or not they were released this year. But I'm not going to do that this time. And the reason is because there are many other things that are... I didn't play that many brand new things this year. I actually played on stream 20 different games this year, video games, whether here or on GOG. And so I'm going to rank those 20 games in order, and I'll talk about them as I go through them and what I thought about each one of them. And then the thing that I want to mention as well is that there were a couple of games that I played off stream. I had a chance to play Slay the Spire quite a bit. I know Coven Guy likes that game a lot too. Really enjoyed Slay the Spire. Had a lot of fun with that. I played a game called Dicey Dungeons off stream. That was a great time. Really had fun with that too. I had a chance to play Serious Sam, which was just kind of a mindless shooter because every so often I just felt like something like that off stream. I played Rogue Legacy and Owlboy a little bit off stream on my Switch. So I've had a chance to do that. I played the little Nintendo Labo where it's like cardboard and you make like pianos and fishing rods and all this stuff with Little Arv. That was a great time, so I played that off stream. So I had a chance to play some of that stuff off stream, and it was a great time. But most of the video games that I did was on stream. Yeah. Exactly, Aaronth. 100%. Try not to overlook me. I'm a short dude after all. Hey, man, I hope so too. I hope very much that that's the case too, Coven. I hope so. Actually, wait, I never went back and looked up at this and saw what people said about the channel. So hold on now. I didn't go back to do this. Yeah, I know exactly, Coven. I give them to Cortana. Yeah, hopefully we can do that, Coven. I hope so. The in-house troll. Much love to you too, Div. Oh, you shush, gamer. All right, and I think I'm caught up with all that. D&D life wouldn't be the same without Jade, Golden Fire, and Celsig, Saber, Screaming Mirage, or Tasty River. Amen. There you go. Okay, yes, I agree. You must vote. I read up. Oberdin playthroughs. Oh, thank you, Wisterma. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Oberdin. I am kind of tall. It's true. I'm 6'3". I'm 6'3", so... And Hillness, of course, I have met on multiple occasions at Gen Con. Okay, so, so anyway, so those are the games. But in terms of the games that I played on stream, here are the rankings, okay? We begin, ladies and gentlemen, with Wizardry. Coming in at the bottom, number 20 out of 20, Wizardry, Tale of the Forsaken Land. Number 20. all the way at the bottom. It's the bottommost, you know. uh, yeah. So, yeah. All right. It was a game, and it was played. And I mean, I will say, in fairness, I'm being a little bit facetious. It was okay, but it wasn't great. But you know, it's all right. I mean, I played it. It won the chat game of the month. I forget. Was it Isterma? Isterma, was it you that voted that, or was it Nonstop that nominated? I don't remember who nominated Wizardry, but you know, whatever. It was all right. That rap battle. Yes, the rap battle was fine. It was you. That's the thing, Nonstop. The rap battle was great, but I had to like create that to me. I mean, you know, whatever, but it was fine. You know, but it definitely would be 20 out of 20 for me. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So that was Wizardry. You know, it was all right, I guess I would say. Now, the second game that I played, which I played was this one, and it was The Occupation, number 19. Now, this was new, and I played this over on GOG. This game was a game that I liked conceptually and did not like in terms of its execution. This was a game that was designed, at least initially, as a kind of set in a dystopian future Britain where like the election has gone a different way, and basically you're sneaking around and finding out all of these sort of secret intriguey type things. It's a kind of thing which ought to sort of press all my buttons in a good way, but the reality was it was very buggy. It kind of was boring, and a lot of the game just didn't kind of land. A lot of it was just not very interestingly done. And the pacing was off. It's one of those games, again, that I was like, great idea. Execution was meh. So Occupation was, again, better idea than I think execution. So that came in at number 19 for me. Again, I liked it, but not my favorite thing. Number 18 of the games I played was Choice of the Deathless. And this basically is written by Max Gladstone, who went on to write the This Is How You Lose the Time War with Amal El-Matar, friend of the stream. And Choice of the Deathless is one of the choice games. You remember I've played Choice of Robots on here. There's many choice of these games. And they're really interesting games, very text heavy. And again, this was an example of a game where there's lots of different options, lots of different choices. And I enjoyed playing it. And it was just a reminder to me that a game can have zero graphics at all, and you can just sort of enjoy the experience of being kind of immersed in it, you know, emotionally and intellectually, even if you're not looking at the amazing graphics on screen. So I only had a chance to play it one session, but I liked Choice of the Deathless. And it was not bad. It was just, yeah, I liked it, but I mean, I didn't play a lot of it, and so I can't put it that much higher, but I did enjoy it. I should note, by the way, that I did play some other games in 2019 that I'm not putting on this list because I started playing them last year. So as an example, we had the Bard's Tale 4, for example. That was, I think, my game of the year last year. I started that last year. I finished it this year, but I'm not going to list it again. So there were games like that. But Choice of the Deathless was one of the ones I played, so that's number 18 on the list. Number 17 on the list. Let me make sure that I get the right one here. Number 17. Number 17 on the list is Lamplight City, which was one of the chat-chosen Patreon games that I played. And I want to say that Echo Alpha, I know, was big on this. I don't remember exactly who nominated this either, but Lamplight City had a lot of good aspects to it. I actually had, the dev was in chat, actually, when I played it. I love the feel of this. It was you, Echo. I love the feel of Lamplight City. I really like the world. This is a point-and-click adventure game. I like the sort of a lot of interesting ideas to it conceptually, and so I really liked Lamplight City quite a bit, and I could see this being a game that at some point I might return to. I only played it once, and part of the reason that it's not ranked higher is because although I liked it, point-and-click adventure games have a very narrow window for me to like them, because I get frustrated with adventure game logic, which I don't think is logical, and I get a little frustrated with feeling as if the game is like delaying me or slowing me down when I want to experience the story. Not that I want to rush through stories, I don't, but I feel like sometimes it's like someone reading to me and I'm like, oh, what happens next? And they're like, and then the light was picked up, and I'm like, oh my God. So Again, pacing can sometimes be a problem, and there was a little bit of that for me in Lamplight City. But I liked it in terms of its the feel of the world and the world building, and so that's a game, as I say, that I could see myself returning to, and so I would put Lamplight City at 17. At 16, I put A Dark Room, which I played a couple of times when I was on the road and I didn't have RFBox with me. A Dark Room was a really cool game where it's basically all text-based. It's a browser-based, too. You could play it right now, in fact. I think it was Marinda who put this on my radar screen first, where you go to it and it literally starts with you're in a dark room and the only thing you can do is light a fire, which you just do by clicking on it. And then you collect wood. You meet a guy who becomes like a builder for you. He starts building stuff, and then the game just develops and becomes very complex, and there's all these different things you can do. Eventually you get to travel outside of where you are, and it's all done with just clicks in this browser. I find it a fascinating game that I'd love to play more of when I get the chance. Not higher because it has no graphics at all, and browser based and so forth, and it is a little repetitive and tedious at times, but such an interesting idea. Yeah, it's like a fancy cookie clicker, exactly, but really interesting in terms of the way that it's sort of presented. So I liked Darkroom a lot. Now, number 15 for me was, I don't know if I have this. No, I don't. So, number 15 for me was Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. This is for Nintendo Switch, and I really enjoyed this. I played this once on stream with my daughter, with Little Arv. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was a ton of fun. Basically a puzzle game where you run around with Toad figures looking really cute and sort of chatting with each other. You can play it cooperatively, on the same screen together. Just a really fun thing. It's the kind of game that Nintendo does really, really well. And everything is on point. The graphics, the music, everything about it really fits the description. So I'm a huge fan of Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. I have a lot of fun with it. My daughter didn't play it much on stream, which is why it's not listed as being higher. But I did play it some on stream, and I enjoyed it. So that is definitely on my list at number 15. When we get to number 14, now all of these are all out of the top 10, and I didn't have too much trouble with some of these, but there were going to be a couple of spots where it was a little bit difficult to decide which game was going to be something that would make it and which game wouldn't. And this game is an example of that, Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn comes in at 14. I was looking some months ago for a game that I could play initially off stream, which would just be kind of an action-related RPG, sort of a Diablo-style thing. I don't love the Diablo type of games, but I wanted to, try something like this. And I had a really good time with Grim Dawn. I played a fair bit of it, actually. I don't remember exactly how much. I want to say Grim Dawn was like, I may have played 20 hours, maybe a little more than that. I don't know. But Grim Dawn was cool. And you also have multiplayer components to it. Also, I think that some of these games, they're all sort of a piece. You've got the Diablo, Grim Dawn, Path of Exile, Titan Quest. These are all in the same kind of crew. And a lot of these games, they're fun in a certain kind of way for a certain kind of mood. I have to be in the right mood to want to play Grim Dawn, but when I am, this is a game that's like that. So I had fun with it. And again, I do love the world building of this too. I really enjoyed the world building and kind of the structure of it. Story is okay, not amazing, but the story is okay, but I love the sort of design of it. So Grim Dawn is definitely good stuff. And yes, we should try to co-op that at some point, Brahms. That'd be fun. All right, number 13. Number 13 on this list is... Let me get the picture. Number 13 on this list is another Patreon-fueled game, and that is Wild Arms, ACF. Now, part of the reason that Wild Arms, which I am going to come back to, part of the reason that Wild Arms was a success for me is because I really liked the original Wild Arms and played it when it was on PlayStation 1. I liked Wild Arms. I liked the music. I liked the feel of it. And there's a lot about it that I like. I have a soft spot in my heart for the kind of fantasy Western. Oh, that would be cool, Nonstop. We could get a bunch of people together to co-op Grim Dawn one day. That'd be awesome, man. Actually, I'd like to do that. Well, let's talk more. So, I mean, get 4 or 5 people. I don't know how many you can play at a time on Grim Dawn, but anyway. So, Wild Arms. I really liked Wild Arms. I love the kind of fantasy Western. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for that. In some ways, Greyshade has a little bit of a tinge, not entirely, it's more spy, but it has a little bit of a tinge of the fantasy Western. And so I really dig that. So I am very, very, I liked Wild Arms. This was a game I was playing and being like, I dig it. Like, this is a game I'm totally down for. It's a game that I will return to, and the only reason it's not higher ranked again is because I didn't play it very much. But I definitely dig it. This is a game that I can see myself coming back to. Mostly just the music, man. The music combined with the gameplay is just really does it for me. It's something about nostalgia. It's in that sweet spot for me. So definitely Wild Arms. Alter Code F is up there for me. That was number 13. Now, number 12 is a game which I played first some months ago, although I came back to it again very recently, and many of you are going to know what this is. And if Dragon Spear is here, he's not yet, but when Dragon Spear comes in, he'll be able to see some of this, and that, of course, is Blade Runner. Blade Runner, which, of course, I played originally with the help of Dragon Spear, getting this game to be able to run before it was available on GOG, and, of course, now it's available on GOG, and I was able to do the debut of it on GOG. Really cool adventure game. Now, I mentioned the fact that I have kind of a narrow window for adventure games. This, I think, might fit that because the world building is so good, because the sort of structure and it's much less repetitive. It's much less about adventure game logic than the others are. It does a lot of things very well, and the world building's so great. I mean, again, part of it is because it's based on, as I talked about when I did this debut a couple of weeks ago, the GOG debut, based on Philip K. Dick's brilliant Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and, of course, the film Blade Runner. And both of those things have their own amazing life. Like, it's one of the few properties I can think of. Maybe The Witcher is another example with the television show now, where you have The Witcher, which is a great book, Witcher, which is a great game series, and now The Witcher, which is supposedly a pretty good TV series. That's a little bit like this, but each one of these was iconic. Blade Runner, the film, is hugely important in film. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, hugely important in speculative fiction, science fiction especially. And Blade Runner was very much like that also. So I really like Blade Runner. This is the kind of thing that I can see I will come back to this as well. And I enjoyed this. And again, if I had played it more, it probably would have ended up higher on the list. But still, it's number 12, and I'm definitely down with it. Again, you can get this on GOG. I think it still may be on sale. But in any case, it's not expensive. It's like $8.99 or something like that. Well worth getting. So Blade Runner is number 12 on that list. Now, number 11 was a big struggle. The choice between 11 and 10, and what was going to be 11 and what was going to make the top 10, was really hard. Because this game I had so much fun with this year. I had so much just like belly laughs and just joy over playing it. I can't tell you, partly because I was playing it with a group of people, but I ended up sort of just slightly falling behind number 10, but not by a lot. And that, of course, is Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, which I had so much fun playing with the vocalists. Oh my God, it's so campy, it's so stupid, it's so goofy, and it's so fun. I just, just the memes, objection, hold it, like, oh man, so much fun. So I really, really enjoyed this, and I had a hard time not making it number 10. Just the other 10 games, it's more about how the other 10 games were great, less than it was that this game was worse or something. It's just, this game is really cool. So I really liked Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, and I'm looking forward to more of that. So many good memes. It's so great. And I have played it. I have played all the originals. Yes, I have played and streamed with the vocalists, actually, mostly with the vocalists, all the first 3 games, all the Phoenix Wright trilogy. So I'm doing them in order, basically. And they have a limited shelf life. You can't play Ace Attorney. You can't play nothing but Ace Attorney games for years, because truthfully, after a while, you're like, oh my God, because they do have a little bit of that adventure game logic problem also. But for the most part, this stuff is really cool. So I really enjoyed doing Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. All right, now we get to the top 10. And the top 10 games, there's a substantial difference once you get to the top 5, and I'll talk more about that when I get there. But the game that I want to mention here that was number 10 really comes on as a consequence, I think, of potential as much as execution. I'm actually looking forward to seeing more of the potential, and I watched a fair bit of this game being played in addition to playing it myself, and it's because of all those things that I ended up putting this in this list, and that is Horizon Zero Dawn. So one of the things that I really like about Horizon Zero Dawn is not just the world building, but the seamlessness with which the creatures are built into the world, are constructed as a part of the world. And I really enjoyed that for the couple of sessions that I played of it. Now, I only had a chance to play like 2 sessions of this before I had to get on to other games, but Horizon Zero Dawn is on the list, only about, I don't know, a couple of games, maybe 3-4 games down the list. I am going to come back and eventually play it. I really dug it. So Horizon Zero Dawn was really cool, and I love the game conceptually in terms of what it's doing. Very good opening sequence as well. I've noticed a lot of games have really knocked it out of the park lately with opening sequences, and so this was part of that. So really, really liked Horizon Zero Dawn a lot, and I'm going to be playing that more. And so it barely beat out Apollo Justice, even though I played Apollo Justice a lot, and I played Horizon Zero Dawn not much, but the potential of this game is just enough that I want to do more with it. So that's the deal with that. Number 9 is a game that I did actually finish. It was another Patreon chosen game of the month. And this is a game which works in part because it knows exactly what kind of game it is. And then it goes out and it does it, and it doesn't apologize for doing it. And that game is Cat Quest. This was a perfect Nintendo Switch game. Obviously, it's on all the platforms now, but it's a perfect game for Nintendo Switch. And part of the reason I liked it is because I was like, it's a cute game, it's a Zelda thing, and it all works. Like, it all just works. It's fun. The music is fun. It has sort of a surprising. It's not like an amazing story, but it's deeper than you think it is. The mechanics of the game are deeper than you think it is. It reminded me a little bit of Bastion, in that Bastion to me is kind of sneaky deep. You know, Bastion seems like kind of an action game with sort of a cartoonish main character, and then as you go into it, mostly because of that incredible narration and the music, you end up with this astonishing experience. I think Bastion is an incredible game, but is a perfect game. Yes, exactly, Christensen. But I like Cat Quest a lot, and I thought that there were some moments. It wasn't it wasn't really a hard game, you know, but there were some moments that were a little bit harder than others, and you could kind of structure your character. You could essentially customize your character in a lot of different ways too, which I thought was neat. So this game did a lot of things well, and I can see myself doing Cat Quest 2 down the line. By the way, this only took a few sessions to do, and that will also be a theme that some games are games that work because they're long and expansive. Some games work because of how perfectly paced they are. In fact, one of the games you're going to hear about in just a minute does things well precisely because it doesn't overstay its welcome. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So number 9 was Cat Quest. Number 8 is a game that I've thought about a lot since I first played it, and I've actually had a chance to talk to a couple of authors. This is the new hotness with author Twitter because of the way that it's done. And I think this is a game that is very much a spiritual successor to Planescape Torment, and that is Disco Elysium. I only had a chance to play this once, but I am going to be playing this again in very short order because the writing is really good, the character design is really good, and this is again a game that makes you think about it when you stop playing it. It has very, very good writing, and it's a game that you just kind of have to throw yourself into it, very much like Planescape Torment. Planescape Torment, you just have to be like, you know what? I'm going to go and do this game, and we're going to see how it goes, and let it all hang out. And if you do that, Disco Elysium Planescape Torment will reward you. This game, I think, is similar. Again, many authors that I've seen who stream various things on Twitch and elsewhere have been talking about this. Carlos Hernandez has been raving about how great this game is. So Disco Elysium is a game that we're going to do more of. I am very, very excited about playing more of this game. Really interesting, cool game. Not combat heavy, very conversation heavy, and I think that's really cool. So Disco Elysium, good stuff, good world building as well. All right, and welcome to the Arvanauts. I'm so happy those alerts are working. Thank you so much for the follow, Magma Foxy 1. Welcome to the Arvanauts. All right, now we get to the top 7 games, and these were all games that man, have I been loving them because. And there's the cheer. The cheer's still not working right. I don't know why the cheer's not working right. It should not be doing that. It should be doing something else. I will have to come back and figure out. In fact, here, I don't want to mess up my notepad, but figure out cheer. Thank you for the cheer. Figure out cheer emote issue. Because it's testing fine, and then when people actually use the cheer, it's not working, and I don't know why. So I have to... I don't know. I don't know what it's doing, but I will figure out the cheer remote issue at some point. So I won't thank you till it's fixed. Okay, so this game was already actually made reference to earlier on today. A couple people talked about this earlier. Can you please... What are you doing? Please go away. Do this. All right, I don't know why it's doing that, so I'm just going to... There we go. All right, This game is a game that I started playing on GOG a couple of weeks ago, and I've really, really liked it. Happy New Year, Magna Foxy. Happy New Year. Exactly. Not quite, but close. And that is Return of the Obra Dinn. Now, the guy who made this game is the same guy who did Papers, Please, who was also on my Games of the Year when I played that. And Return of the Obra Dinn is fascinating. I'm really struck by, I just am struck by the craftsmanship of this game. The sort of the way that this, who would ever think that an insurance investigation game was interesting? And yet, in a way, that's exactly what the game is. Like, it basically is insurance investigation, except there's supernatural qualities to it, and you can check out how people died in the game, and that's your job to figure it out. It's really fascinating, and it's another one of those games that I think about a lot when I'm not playing it, sort of like Disco Elysium. Return of the Obra Dinn has been great, and I think as Terma mentioned that he's been having a great time watching it. I'm with you. I've really been having a lot of fun playing this, and I can't wait to. It's also very satisfying because as you figure out who died and why and what killed them, it gets marked off your list, and oh my god, is that super satisfying to be like, check off, check off, check off, check off, check off the list. I love it. So Return of the Obra Dinn is great, and I'm really having fun with that. So good stuff. That is number 7 on the list. Now, number 6, this is an example of something I had a very hard time deciding whether to make this one of my top 5 games or whether to put this in the spot where I put it, which is number 6. Because it's a game which is so beautifully rendered, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and then it's out. And I adored this game, and it only took me a single session to play it. One session. So do you know the game that I'm talking about, chat? I love this game from beginning to end. That was your top moment of the year. Does anyone remember what I'm talking about? Not Breath of Fire 3, no. Not Trails of the Sky. Mrs. Dunsel got it. Untitled Goose Game, honk. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this game from beginning to end. It's a game that is literally almost perfectly constructed. You play a goose. You have these like tasks you have to check off. You don't know why you're checking them off. You want to see what happens next. You go through the whole thing, and then at the very end of it, and I don't want to spoil it for people, but there's this perfect ending. I mean, I'm telling you, it was a game that I was like, I just had a smile on my face the whole time. And I finished it and I'm like, that game was perfect. It's as close to a perfect game as you're ever going to get. It's just the drawing of the bunny game should be, oh man, if I always talk about like events, I would agree with you, Garlic Tofu, but just about games. It's just a game, but the game itself is the story. Oh man, and it's got heart and it's fun. I adore Untitled Goose Game. If you have not played this game, go play it. You can play this in like 4 hours tops, 5 hours tops. But it's so funny and fun. And the end of it is just this French kiss. Like, it's so good. Chef's kiss, I mean. So good. Just like, oh my God. I just, exactly as Terma. Like, you could go back and you can be completionist or whatever. But like, it's just, oh, Garlic Tofu, I'm telling you. You will let chef's kiss. All right. Actually, I don't know, how would a goose do a French kiss? I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to talk about what a French kiss, what a goose. It gives a whole new meaning to honk. Honk, honk. Honk, honk, honk. I is professional speaker. I speaks for a living. Anyway, baguette croissant. Anyway, I love this game, and you can get it on almost any system, I believe. It's a very good Switch game. Actually, Shattermage, one of our mods here, speedruns this game. Le honk. I highly recommend this game. You will have a blast. I have not met a single person who played this that didn't like it. It's just great. And the thing that's great about it is that you play it, it doesn't take long, and then it's over, and you're like, it's just it's like that meal you have where you're like, oh, it's just everything worked. Oh man, I loved Goose Game, and it was so much fun that I had a hard time not putting that number 5. I just didn't play it long enough for it to be there, but I thought about it a lot. It's coming out for PS4. I just was like, oh man, Oh man, I really love that game. So Untitled Goose Game. Number 5, barely beating out Untitled Goose Game. Barely beating out Untitled Goose Game. And as I say, it was real close. Like I really had to think about it hard. Let me get the picture of this. Was this game Tyrants of the Moonsea, Neverwinter Nights Tyrants of the Moonsea. One of the reasons that this ended up getting above Goose Game is because I played it so much and it was so well handled and well constructed. This is a game that I really had a blast with. They really did a good job, Ossian did, taking an old engine and making the game actually work and function. There were a couple of crashes. I think I had like 4 crashes throughout the playing of the game, but I got a lot of hours of play out of it. Really good story. Really enjoyed it, and it was good times. I really enjoyed it a lot. Tyrants of the Moonsea had a really interesting story, and there was a lot of depth to it. And again, it wasn't perfect, but it really kind of held my attention, and it was an example of like a kind of good meaty RPG that didn't go forever. I mean, it wasn't the sort of 150-hour type thing, which is sometimes difficult for me because I just am like, I want to play other stuff too. But I really like this a lot. So number 5 on my top 5 of the list was Tyrants of the Moonsea, Neverwinter Nights. Really enjoyed this game a lot. Now, number 4 and number 3 are going to both make Coven Guy happy because I think Coven likes this as much as I do. And this is a game which functions partly because of nostalgia, but also partly because I think the game takes its source material, which is brilliant, and then takes the source material and makes it within the computer context even better. So you could do this game like as its own thing. Like you could definitely do the game on its own and you would still think to yourself, "Oh, okay, like that's how this game works." You could still do that. But this game works in large part because of how many things it innovates. And that is Inkle's Sorcery. The first of these games was Inkle's Sorcery, The Shamantanti Hills, which is the first in the series. This is based, for those of you who don't know, this is based on the brilliant best adventure game book ever made, which is the best adventure game books ever made, or the Sorcery series by Steve Jackson. Not the guy who did Munchkin, but the guy who did Games Workshop. So Talisman, Warhammer, all that stuff. That's Steve Jackson. This game is utterly brilliant. Shamantanti Hills is great. It was just fascinating from the beginning, and it took the game, it took this sort of, I know the Shamantanti Hills concept, and it just sort of extended it. And yes, the map is gorgeous. Oh my God, the map was so gorgeous. I love the map. I love zooming into it. I seriously want to actually just get the map from my wall and just put it up and be like, there's my map. Because like, oh my God, how much did I love that? Yeah, so I loved Shamantanti Hills. It handled things very well. Really interesting combat mechanics. The way that it interweaves things is really neat. And this is supposedly the worst of the 4. And it was my number 4 game of the year. So, I mean, they did a great job with this. And I can't wait. Plus Swindlestones. Exactly, Swindlestones, yeah. No, I remember also Commander and Mrs. Dunn. So you guys really love this. And man, oh God, I love that. And I like that map maker. And I forget already who made the maps, except I love that dude. Like that guy, I love his maps. So I loved this game. And number 3 was Kare City Port of Traps, which was book 2. This took that and went even farther because it added a time twisting element, a time travel mechanic. And this is one of those games, again, that you start playing and you're like, oh, it's taking this great game book and it's going to do like what Tin Man does. And what Tin Man does is great. Tin Man Games, friends of the stream, what they do with like the fighting fantasy game books are great, don't get me wrong. And in some cases, like with Warlock of Firetop Mountain, they've done something even more interesting with it, and I've loved that too. But a lot of their games are sort of like game book playthroughs that you can do digitally instead of having the book with you. So it's cool. This just goes like way beyond that though. I mean, this just takes that and goes off in its own direction in a fascinating and interesting way. It introduces political intrigue and like just there's so many cool parts to it. And some of the mechanics about the sort of going over and over through the same time thing isn't quite as fun, but I had a great time playing this overall. And when we get to books 3 and 4, the Seven Serpents and then Crown of Kings I think is the greatest game book ever made ever. Seven Serpents is brilliant too. But supposedly Seven Serpents is amazing in the Inkle series also. So I'm really looking forward to playing those, but definitely number 3 and 4, Shamantanti Hills 4, Kare City Port of Traps number 3 was great stuff. Okay, now we get to the top 2 games of the year. And honestly, I didn't have to think too hard about either one of these. I kind of knew that I was going to be doing both of these, and I especially knew that I was going to be doing the number one game in the place that I put it. But this game that I played is not only a game that I really enjoyed, but it's kind of connected with me. It's always going to be, for me, connected with the summer of 2019, which was both very difficult and very rewarding. Because I was in the middle of course, doing the Icarus Kickstarter with Athos. I was in the middle of doing a bunch of other stuff, dealing with personal stuff with family. And so this game sort of was about all of it. And that's Deus Ex Human Revolution. I love this game. I think this game does so many things well. It does stealth well. It does weapon choice well. It has a fascinating story. It does enhancements well. You can construct your character the way you want to. It's graphically really well done. It's got great sound design. The music is cool. It's just super, super cool. Yeah, 4 and 3 nonstop. 4 was the Shamantanti Hills, and 3 was Carre City Port of Traps. 2 separate games. They're both by Inkle, but they're 2 separate games. So that's 4 and 3. So 2 is Deus Ex Human Revolution. Again, I loved all of this. The only thing I didn't like about this game, honestly, was the final boss fight, which I thought sucked and was stupid. That was the only problem. The rest of the game I thought was great. I really enjoyed it. Watching Detroit as it is today was really fun. I'm just joking. But no, watching the sort of setup of it, philosophically interesting as well. It was really, really great. So, and to me, as I say, it's connected. I streamed this a lot on the road when I was in Seattle, and yeah, exactly, Garlic Tofu. So it just sort of really connects. Yeah, so realistic. It really connects with that. So I really, really like Deus Ex Human Revolution a lot. Pretty clearly number 2 in the comparison between these two games, but I really liked it, and I'm glad I got a chance to play it. And the director's cut, which added this section in the middle, was really seamlessly, inserted in the middle of it too. So I really enjoyed that a lot. And that leads me, of course, to the final game, the final one in the list. And anyone who's been watching me should know what this game is going to be. So what is my number 1 game of the year, chat? Yeah, exactly, Garlic. No, because Zelda I started last year, so Zelda doesn't count. Wind Waker does not count because I started last year. D&D does not count because D&D is tabletop. I love Wind Waker. Wind Waker is great, but I started it last year. Not Eberron. Uncharted I didn't play this year. No, because the Bard's Tale I played last year. Nope. Wizardry 1, no. Bad Rats, you shut your mouth. No. You're forgetting a very good game. No, not Breath of Fire 3. I'm surprised you're not thinking of this game. There you go, Lone Wolf. My favorite game of the year is absolutely Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And I'll tell you why. There are so many reasons, but a big part of the reason is that I think it sets out to do something that it has an idea in its mind about what it wants to do. And then it goes out and it does it brilliantly. It is a combination, as I finally find the picture, it is a combination of so many things that I love in games. It is an adventure game, a moving adventure game a la Tomb Raider. It's got a lot of exploration. It has fascinating elements of platforming. I don't love platforming, but I do when it's Prince of Persia-y, and this is what that's like. It's got Metroid Prime elements, and I love Metroid Prime, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It is musically brilliant. It is visually spectacular. I mean, absolutely spectacular. It's got a really good and compelling story. It has customization elements that aren't obnoxious, but seem to sort of fit. It has engaging and interesting characters, wonderful voice acting. It's just, I think it does almost everything well. The only thing I don't like about it is I don't love the combat aspect. At least I should say I don't love the Dark Souls-y quality of it. The parts that are Dark Souls I don't like. But despite that, it's still my game of the year because I don't think those things stand in the way of the rest of it. So much of this is well done. And on top of it, it's Star Wars. And it feels very Star Wars. This does not feel like something that's like a separate, they just skinned something else and called it Star Wars. That is not the case. This feels completely Star Wars-y. And the opening section, and you're right, Brahms, that opening tutorial is one of the best tutorial sections I've ever played in any game. It establishes the world. World building is brilliant, by the way. It establishes character arcs and motivations. It gives you a reason to care about the characters. It tells you what has been lost and won within this world. It tells you what's at stake. It gives you some of the basic mechanics. The whole thing is just all there and all brilliant. And it's hard for me to have played a game for tonight will be, I think, the 5th day of playing Jedi Fallen Order. And it's hard for me to play a game for only that many times and call it my game of the year. But I just went over it. I'm like, you know what? I can't put anything else I played this year over it. It just does everything so well. And I was looking at it when they were setting up for it, thinking to myself, I have a feeling this game is going to be really, really good. And boy, was I not wrong about that. This game has been brilliant. I've absolutely adored the game so far. And now it's possible, I suppose, that the game will fall off a cliff. I mean, my game of the year last year was Bard's Tale 4. Barrows Deep. And as much as I love that game, the latter, I would say, quarter of the game got tedious. So I love the first 3/4 of the game, but the latter third quarter of the game, welcome to the Arvanauts, Pettius, thank you for the follow. The latter quarter of the game was tedious and repetitive, and I was like, oh my God. So I got kind of tired of Bard's Tale 4. If I had played the entire game and then was rating them, it probably would not have been my game of the year. It would have dropped a little bit on the list. So it is possible that that could happen with this one, but it's not like I just played a session of it. I played 4 sessions or so. I've really enjoyed this a lot. And it's a game that I look forward to playing all the time. I'm looking forward to playing it today. So I'm digging it. I really enjoy Jedi Fallen Order. And I just basically think as a game that's a big budget game that is published by EA of all companies, which you thought knows how to ruin its games, and you would have thought would have been all about microtransactions and all this stuff. For some reason, they stayed the hell out of it. And they just let Respawn do the game, and this is the result. A game that works brilliantly in single player. It streams beautifully. It looks great. I had to switch over from the Steam version to the PS4 version so that I could stream it and have it look nice and smooth for you folks. But honestly, the PS4 version still looks really good. It's not quite as good as the PC version, but it still looks really good. So I dig it. And no, Dragon, the combat is not, that's the thing. The combat's not 60% of the gameplay. That's where you're wrong. And I think if you're looking at it and thinking to yourself, this game is really combat heavy, you're not paying attention. It's not. It's much more exploration based, especially because the combat is so deadly and thus so quick. There are a couple of boss fights here and there which are frustrating, and I don't love those. But most of the combat is over fast because you're using a goddamn lightsaber. And so that stuff means that the combat does not dominate it. I think the combat's maybe 25% of the game. I think it's a 75% exploration, adventure, story game. I would like it if there was even less combat, and I certainly would like it if it wasn't Dark Soulsy. But honestly, compared to every other one of these types of games that really emphasizes the combat, it's not about that. Nah, it's not mostly fight. Nope. Strongly disagree. I don't think you're looking at it the right way, Dragon. I guess what I would say is that, because here's the thing. So you run up to a guy, you kill the guy in 2 shots. That was a combat? I mean, because then, like, as an example, you run into a group of stormtroopers, you take them out. Then you've got a whole series of platforming things you have to do. You get to the other side of that. You recover this force echo, which tells you about, like, this particular person that you're trying to find, and more about this Jedi tomb. And then you get to a puzzle section, like rolling the balls around the map that I had to do the other day. And then you're done with that, and then you have to, like, there is combat, but it's really, combat is not the dominant force in this at all. It is not the case that you mostly fight. I think if you're not paying close attention and you kind of just look at it sideways, you might think, oh, it's like Dark Souls. It really is not. Yeah, and I'm playing it on normal. That's true too. I mean, I would not play it on hard. Rob, I know, said that he played it on hard and he really did not like it. I would never play a game like this on hard. And I know Hillness, who's been in here, actually switched back to story mode. If the game ever got to be a pain in the ass, that's what I would do, because I don't care about winning a virtual medal for finishing a game on hard. To me, normal difficulty is the sort of most balanced way. So yeah, it's definitely not as big a factor. If it was hard, then I might get frustrated because the combat was such a big deal, and then that would bother me. And as I said, I don't love the aspects of the combat. I just don't think it's a big part of the game. So, that's the deal with that. Yeah, maybe that's true, Riddenell. Maybe they felt like they needed to nail the license, but either way, I think that they did it. I think this game is well worth it and definitely it. So that was my game of the year. So again, to be clear, my games that I played this year. Number 20 was Wizardry Tale of the Forsaken Land. 19 was The Occupation. That was new this year. Choice of the Deathless is 18. Lamplight City 17. Dark Room 16. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker 15. Grim Dawn 14. Wild Arms Alter Code F 13. Blade Runner 12. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney 11. Horizon Zero Dawn 10. Cat Quest 9. Disco Elysium 8. That was new this year. Return of the Obra Dinn 7. Untitled Goose Game 6. Neverwinter Nights Tyrants of the Untitled Goose Game was new as well. Neverwinter Nights Tyrants of the Moonsea 5. Inkle's Sorcery The Shaman Tantiels 4. Inkle's Sorcery Kare City Ports of Traps 3. Deus Ex Human Revolution 2. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order number 1, and that was in the new mode. So that's what we got. And I looked at it, and I think I figured out that of these games, something like, I think it was like, let me see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 of these were RPGs. 10 of my top 10 were RPGs. Or 10 of my top 20 were RPGs, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 were adventure games, basically. And then a couple of the remaining games were like puzzle games, basically. So mostly RPGs and adventure games, which is, on brand. So that's the deal. In case anyone's curious, by the way, my top game in 2017 was The Last Guardian, and my top game in 2018 was The Bard's Tale 4, narrowly beating out Battletech, and my top game and then the top game in 2019 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So that is the deal with that. So that is our Game of the Year show. I hope you enjoyed it and all that kind of good stuff. And now I am going to change up the stream title, and then I'm going to start Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So I'm not stopping. If you're not, I'm not going to stop. It is over. Giveaway is rigged. Yes, I'm not going to stop the stream though. Okay, I am just going to switch this up. No, because Pillars of Eternity 2 I didn't play. And Pathfinder Kingmaker I started last year, Varney. So Pathfinder Kingmaker was listed in my top 5 last year. So, not this year. This year's Game of the Year was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That was my Game of the Year last year. Yeah, exactly. Divinity Original Sin 2 was also last year or the year before. So... all right. Okay, so ARF streams day 4 of Star Wars Jedi. All right. 4 of. All right, and then we have. All right, there we go. Pathfinder was last year. Pathfinder was on my list last year, nonstop. And as far as, I have to say, frankly, Pathfinder is another one of those games that probably would drop farther down on my list now, because it's a game that I eventually just sort of gave up on. Because I was sort of like, I shouldn't say that. I may come back to it, but it's another one of those games that's so sprawling and so huge. It's like The Witcher 3. I'm going to come back to The Witcher 3, but honestly, it's taken me a couple of years because I'm like, I don't want to do a game that's 100 billion hours. Like, I want to play other games too. So I will come back to Pathfinder Kingmaker probably at some point, but it's just kind of goes on. And I don't love the world. I've never been a huge fan of the Pathfinder universe, frankly. So I'm just kind of like, you know, it's fine, but it's not, you know, as a world, it's not great. I still like a lot about it, but I think it would probably be more like 5 on my list if I were redoing that list for last year instead of up at number 2, which is where I had it. So, but yeah, so. Okay, we're going to stop the recording. We're not going to stop the stream, though. We're going to stop the recording for just a minute. So for those of you watching my Game of the Year, have a happy new year, wonderful decade to come, and I love you all, and I will see you on my stream soon.